First and foremost, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Imperial Premium Finance and Orbital Singer, for helping us out. Without their support, we couldn't do these webinar series, and we're very appreciative for it. Today's session is going to last about 15-20 minutes. Just want to let everyone know that we will record the session and we'll post on the website if anybody actually wants to hear the session again. And we'd like to remind everybody to please mute your phones. If you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to use the chat function and Rachel can get back to you. And we'll also have a few minutes at the end to ask any questions anyone might have. So if we start with the first slide, today's session agenda and objectives. The webinar is designed to educate us on the important legislative issues facing the insurance industry today. We want to demonstrate how these issues impact us as agents. We want to discuss the importance of professional advocacy in protecting our interests and get involved in making our voice heard. Politics really has received a lot of negative media attention over the last few months with the debate on the debt ceiling, and most of it's not good. In fact, it's probably turned a lot of people off to politics, and I was in that same boat. I really thought I couldn't do much about it, and and the political process really didn't affect me. I felt that way until last April, when I went back to Washington, D.C. as the Nevada Young Agents Chair, and I met with our federal representatives and senators, and we had a chance to discuss the issues and how they impact us as an industry. I really felt like having those discussions really made a significant impact, and our message got across. So this slide, how does this affect me? We know that the insurance industry is highly regulated, and the current legislation and new laws affects a lot of people. It affects us, our businesses, and our clients. An example of how regulated our industry is you look at the Nevada revised statutes for insurance. They're roughly 7 times larger than the Nevada revised statutes for banking. Being up to date on that legislation, as well as current laws being proposed, is really important because that has a direct impact on not just us as agents, but on our customers as well. It's really important that we're all aware of what those issues are on both the state and federal level, and what we do is we thought we'd go over a few of those issues in the next couple slides. So next slide, please. Okay, so here in Nevada, what are our legislative issues? We've seen a number of major changes in the insurance law in the state and a number of proposed changes. And what I thought would be helpful for everyone is to kind of go over some of the proposed legislation as well as some of the currently passed legislation and how that affects us. The first bullet point, state-sponsored affordable auto insurance. There was a bill proposed in the last legislative session, thank goodness it did not get out of committee, to create a state-sponsored affordable auto insurance program. The NIIA, the Nevada Independent Insurance Agents, were strongly against that. I think everyone will agree that we have plenty of competition as it is in the auto market, and having to compete with the state for a social service program didn't do our industry any favors. The next point on legal authority of certificates of insurance. This was a very big win for our industry. This legislative session, it is now illegal to put false or incorrect information in a certificate of insurance. I think most of us have seen a certificate come across our desk that just doesn't make sense, and now when that happens, it's illegal. So that was a big victory for us. In the last legislative session, we instituted the Silver State Healthcare Exchange. This was a requirement of the federal healthcare bill, and putting together an exchange is a rather complicated process, and it needs to be regulated and governed, and we did that through the last legislative session. The next bullet point, premium tax increase. I'm not sure if everybody's aware, but Nevada pays 3.5% premium tax. That is the second highest tax percentage in the country. It's really important that we're aware of this, but as in almost every legislative session, it seems that someone's proposing that we increase that. We don't want to do that because we have to be really careful and respectful of our carriers. We don't want Nevada to be a bad place to do business because of the tax climate, so we're always working very hard to make sure that we keep that 3.5% the same. The next bullet point is the Consumer Advocate Bill. What this bill essentially did was create a duplicate job within the Division of Insurance to monitor our industry. And frankly, we felt like having another person kind of looking over our industry and regulating us was a bit of overkill, and happy to report that that didn't move out of committee as well. Some of the big issues on a global level here in Nevada are obviously the budgetary issues. Those budgetary issues were sort of the first and up front on everybody's docket this session, and then we never even got to the next bullet point, reapportionment. At the last census, Nevada gained an extra seat in the House of Representatives, and how the redistricting is going to be a big political battle here coming in the future. We'll move to the next slide and kind of talk quickly about federal insurance regulation. The Big I, the National Independent Insurance Agents Brokers of America, have about 9 significant points that they like to go over. Because we want to kind of keep this sort of short and sweet, I decided to kind of concentrate on two of the bullet points that we're focusing on. First and foremost is the healthcare bill and how that affects us as independent agents. First and foremost, I think the biggest issue was the medical expense ratio or medical loss ratio. For those of you who aren't familiar with that, the federal law mandated the amount of money spent on medical care. And what that essentially did to us as independent agents was it forced the carriers to cut our commissions, and in some cases those commissions even in half. Now, right, wrong, or indifferent, we're all sort of a commission-driven industry. The receptionist to the account managers, producers, owner, everybody in a way gets paid on commission. That's the direct revenue to the agency. And when federal laws passed, it can have such a devastating impact by reducing our revenues by half. I mean, we have to work really hard to repeal that provision of the law. As we talked about a little bit earlier, creating mandated state-sponsored exchanges. We need to do that so everyone has access to healthcare coverage. And then the creation of insurance navigators. A lot of people aren't familiar with the navigator provision, and basically what that does is it's federally sponsored representatives that policyholders can call and talk to for information on their benefits or how the policies work. Now, to us as independent agents, it sounds awfully similar to what we provide our customers and clients, the services that we provide them. And we feel like that's a way that they're trying to kind of pull us out of the process, and we're working very hard to get the navigators provision removed from the healthcare bill as well. The second issue is the National Flood Program. It's another major concern, I think, with everybody seeing what happened last weekend with Hurricane Irene and what's going on in New England and Carolina. Flood insurance is a big deal. And there is it's a requirement. We have to have federally backed flood insurance. There just aren't any private carriers out there willing to step in and provide that coverage for people in flood zone areas. We have to have a federally sponsored program. I'll be the first person to admit that the current program needs some significant tweaking. Because of the recent floods over the last about 10 years or so, that the program is roughly $20 million in the red. The program needs some updating. They've been arguing about it, which is why it expired 4 times in the last year. And some of the updating that we're talking to and trying to convince our federal legislators are to do some actual underwriting. Flood insurance, they don't use any actuarial data in the national program to determine premiums, and we think that the coverages need to be updated. For example, in the commercial flood program, or commercial flood policy, there's no business interruption coverage. We really think that if we're able to go ahead and update the forms and update some underwriting, that this will become a viable product for everybody. Next slide, please. The importance of advocacy. As we just talked about a little bit earlier, there are fairly complex issues that we as insurance agents deal with. It's really important that our interests are well represented, and no one really does a better job of that than the Nevada Independent Insurance Agents, and by an offshoot, the Nevada Young Agents Committee. The NIIA has a very strong presence in the Capitol, both the House and the Senate, and as well as the Division of Insurance and the Department of Motor Vehicles. I think we've all run into a few issues in dealing with the DMV on insurance-related matters, and I know that they are working very hard to sort of streamline the process so that us as agents and the DMV, we get that information in a much easier fashion. NIIA hired some of the very best lobbyists in the state to kind of work with our legislators and really show them how those issues impact us as policyholders, as business owners, and as loyal constituents. NIIA also sends everybody back, or sends a group back to the Big I Legislative Conference in D.C., which I sort of talked about earlier and was lucky enough to attend. In addition to going back to D.C., we have a number of members of our organization that go up to Carson City and sit down and speak with our representatives and talk about how those issues impact us. Go to the next slide. We talk about how politics really get done. And right, wrong, or indifferent, it's basically boiled down to political action committees. For those of you that don't know, the Political Action Committee are organizations that raise money to elect candidates and advance specific issues. The Big I here in Nevada, we have our own Political Action Committee, NIPAC. I can't stress enough that NIPAC is a non-partisan political action committee working to elect candidates to support the insurance industry. And those candidates support us when we support them. And we want legislators, to call us when they have questions on how insurance works or how insurance legislation is brought together in different bills. Kind of a sad deal is most of the insurance laws that were passed in the last session, none of our legislators had a chance to actually read them. They were so busy in dealing with the budget, the laws that were passed, they looked for our guidance. And when someone looks for a guidance, about the first thing they do is they look to the public information to see how much money is available in the Political Action Committee. So both NIIA and Nevada Young Agents are working real hard to increase the value of our state PAC, NIPAC, so that we can have a little more influence up in Carson City. And when we flip to the next slide, we kind of look to how to get involved. It's not just about money, which money obviously has a big deal, but most importantly, we stress that everybody vote. I mean, you can't do anything more than voting, and that's as good as it gets when getting involved. You can always contribute to a candidate directly, and as we're talking about, you can contribute to a PAC. Now, we're not asking for big dollars or from anybody, but we do hope you'll see our Pennies for PAC program. You'll start to see change jars in our member organizations' break rooms, where we're hoping that folks can just donate a little bit of their spare change to help advance the issues that affect us in the insurance industry. And then lastly, but not least, we want to, you can always volunteer for a candidate's campaign if you feel strongly for that candidate, if you feel like it's something you're really passionate about. And with that, kind of just wrap it up, and I'm not sure if anybody has any questions.
Okay, the phone lines are now all unmuted. If you guys have any questions, feel free to speak up, or if you want to submit them via chat, go ahead and do that as well.
All right, must have done a pretty good job not to have anybody ask any questions.
Will you be sending us a copy of the PowerPoint?
Absolutely. We'll be sending that, as well as you'll be getting some additional information regarding the Pennies for PAC program, and yeah, we'd be happy to do that.
Cool.
Anybody else? All right. Well, we wanted to make this short and sweet. Oh, somebody else? Well, we wanted to make this short and sweet. We know everybody's very busy. We really appreciate your time in attending, and hopefully, you learned a little bit about some of the issues that we're dealing with on the legislative side. I want to thank everybody for attending. Again, I want to thank our sponsors, Imperial Premium Finance and Orville Singer. And I hope everybody enjoys their coffee card and has a nice hot cup of joe on us.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Have a good day.